Because Christmas is a time of new beginnings, not just because there's literally new life, but because Christ comes to recapitulate, to sort of recreate all things into this whole new order founded on grace, it's fitting then that we would be presented in the octave of Christmas with our own beginning and where things began to break down. So if you remember in the Garden of Adam and Eve, the temptation takes place of, it looked like it was good to eat, it was pleasing to the eyes, the fruit was great for making one wise. And so this has been in spiritual traditions categorized as lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, and pride of life. And so John, this apostle, is now counseling as a good bishop and a good apostle to his spiritual children who have come to find Christ and found their new identity, that he said they've conquered the evil one, they've come to know who Jesus is, and they have been forgiven of their sins. And so new life is there. They find themselves in a new beginning, and he immediately gets to the heart of the issue so that they don't make the same mistake that our original parents made. So he says, for all that is in the world, sensual lust, so that's lust of the flesh, enticement for the eyes, lust of the eyes, and a pretentious life is not from the Father, but is from the world. And he tells them, be on guard. Okay, so if we are to benefit from that counsel, what does that actually mean? Thomas Aquinas will speak of lust of the flesh, of all those things that pertain to carnal pleasures. So you think of the basic human needs for food, for sleep, for sex, right? For all these things that our body craves that aren't necessarily bad at all, but sin makes them disordered. So I don't just need food, I need the nicest food, and I need lots of that food and plenty of drink until I'm into a stupor or I'm vomiting. I mean, you think of Rome with their vomitoriums where they would literally eat, vomit, and continue to eat, and that was typical party decor. And so for us coming out of the Advent and sweet Christmas season and Halloween season, it's actually a worthwhile reflection. What is our relationship to carnal comforts right now? How disciplined is our eating? To what extent are we a slave to our body's impulses? Or do we feel that our soul has proper governance in the way that it ought to, such that all of our appetites are properly ordered toward the glory of God and ultimately our good? Struggling over here with that right now. Going over to the lust of the eyes, Thomas Aquinas will say this pertains to our relationship with material goods. So I think out of this can arise envy. We see what other people have. And again, during Christmas time, which is so materialistic in our society, that part of ourselves that has this inappropriate attachment to material goods. We always have to have the new Tesla, the new Apple Watch, Apple Provision, gift certificates and all kinds of nice things and decorations and stuff like that. Maybe we find ourselves at Christmas sort of disappointed we didn't get better gifts than the ones that we did get. So rather than having gratitude, there's a downward movement of the soul. And I think too that becomes really important because it can be distracting and also it can happen in very quick ways. I had one this morning. I was making my holy hour in front of the Blessed Sacrament, and my phone vibrated because my priest friends who get up at like 5 a.m. just start blowing up my phone. And here I am having sweet, sweet connection with the divine bridegroom, and everything within me was like, I want to go see what's on my phone. And I realized that is a disordered attachment. And I'm going to mortify that right now, Jesus, by committing to you to not look at that phone until our conversation is over. So it really can subtly work its way in. Like, what's our relationship to YouTube and social media and all those other things? But the most dangerous of all, he ranks them in order, is the pride of life. That's that part about us that just won't let God be God. I have a better way. You know what, Lord? I have an idea. What if we did, what's really greater than this? You know what would be actually really good? I know what you're saying, but here's what I think. And that part about us that's just not compliant. And so what Thomas Aquinas says, and what John is saying, and what we should heed at this period of our new beginning, the remedy to all of this is obedience. Because what obedience does not make us slaves. It's our humble confidence that God actually knows better. And we are deeply aware that we have this tendency to stray. And so whether we feel like it or not, in season or out of season, I'm just going to trust God. That he set things up for my good, that he's working out my holiness, and that he will do things I can't even imagine if with Mary's posture, I just yield to the whole endeavor. And if we work on fostering that disposition within us, then as this child who's already growing in wisdom and grace comes to full stature, we will be disposed to follow him when he calls our name.